Commander, what's going on?
There's nothing going on. We're closing the road. Big blizzard moving in.
What blizzard? It's a couple of plates.
Don't you listen to the weather? We got a major storm here.
I make the weather.
Well, I don't exactly make the weather, but you know what? I'm tracking not one, not two, but 3 potential snow events over the next 10 days. So, let's take a look. Next. Hello everybody, I'm meteorologist Greg Majeski, and welcome back to the Weather Nerds YouTube page. And before we get started, as always, we'd like to welcome all our new subscribers, currently sitting at 1,335 of you. Yeah, we continue to grow, moving in the right direction. And if you haven't yet subscribed, please do me the favor, do me the honor, go and hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, that way you're notified whenever I upload new content, and give me a thumbs up, leave a comment down below. It really helps with us trying to grow this new channel. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at what you need to know for this episode. Well, first we're going to go ahead, we're going to take a look at the latest climate outlook that's going to take us out until January 13th. We're also going to be taking a look at the North Atlantic Oscillation Forecast. That's kind of the positioning of the jet stream and whether it's conducive to develop storms or bringing some cold air. We'll talk about that. We're going to break it down by the region. We're going to look and see where we're expecting snows to fall across the continental United States. We'll take a look at the European model to see what the precip outlook is looking there. And then we'll finally wrap up by taking a look at the temperatures as we are expecting cold air to come in across the country. All right, that's a lot of stuff to talk about. So let's go ahead and take a look right now at the latest climate outlook. So this climate outlook, I think, is going to be pretty interesting. I got a few things to show you. Not only are we expecting below normal temperatures to finally move in across a good chunk of the country, but we're also going to be seeing some elevated chances of precipitation. We're going to break that down here for you. But first, we're going to start by looking at the 6 to 10 day outlook, and you can see we're holding on to some above normal temperatures around the Great Lakes from basically January 5th through the 9th, and then you see how we're looking with below normal temperatures out here in the west. The bulk of the country really is looking at fairly seasonable temperatures over that period. Now, as we go further out, going out from days 8 through 14, you see the big increase there as a lot of the country, we'll say almost half the country, looking at temperatures below average. That above normal temperatures looks like generally shifting over to the northeast briefly. And for those of you up in New England, there in New York State, Pennsylvania, don't worry, this is not going to last very long. The pattern we've seen most of this winter won't really kind of continue that pattern to continue. I think it will get colder there eventually. But here's the interesting thing. I really want to point this out for you here as we look at the climate outlook from days 6 through 10. And I'll be honest with you, I don't think I've seen a precipitation outlook where the bulk of the country is looking at above chances of precipitation, especially across areas here. You obviously see around the southwest here with above normal precipitation to the highest there. And that trend actually continues not only there, but also continues into days 8 through 14. I mean, again, bulk of the country still looking at areas here across the southwest with above normal precipitation, and a big chunk of the eastern third here up the eastern seaboard looking at above normal precipitation chances as well. So obviously we got colder temperatures, we've got increased chance of precipitation. Snow lovers, this is probably the best setup I've seen so far into this young winter season, so something's got to obviously give. Now finally, let's go ahead and switch over. I do want to take a look at the North Atlantic Oscillation Forecast. Now the NAO, as I've explained in previous videos, is when it's in a positive phase, we typically have milder conditions across the country. Negative phase, we get colder conditions. Now currently, as it is sitting right now on this last day of the year, we're sitting right in here. We're in a neutral phase. So this is your zero line running right through here. And you clearly see it. We're going into a negative phase. So we're going to see colder temperatures across the country. Those red squiggly lines are a bunch of different models, and it kind of extrapolates this out and kind of takes the average to give us the position of the jet stream across the country. When it's in a negative phase, that's what brings us the colder air. You can see this colder dip we had back at the end of November, early December, that we briefly had before we had a big chunk of the year with above average temperatures there, I should say for the month of December, with above average temperatures for the month. But that is changing now as we're going into your January. So we put that all together. You looked at the climate outlook. You looked at the North Atlantic Oscillation, which is also supporting the colder conditions and the active weather across the country. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the snow projections by region over the next 10 days. So we're looking at the latest European model here for the 12Z on December the 31st, and we're going to break this down by region. We got one minor snow event that's going to be predominantly into the northeast, kind of around the Great Lakes. Then we're going to track a couple systems coming in off the Pacific that's going to kind of thrive in a colder environment, bringing in snow that's going to cross the country. So let's go ahead and break this down first. I'll go ahead and get on out of here, and let's go ahead and take a look at that initial one here that we're talking about heading into New England. So we're talking about areas up in here. Not too significant. You're looking at light dusting here across areas of Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and some spotty amounts across Ohio and Michigan. But again, just a very light snow dusting here is our snow event number one. So we'll call it a minor one, but really not that big a deal to begin the area. You're just basically looking at a fairly light dusting to a couple inches around in this first snow event going into the morning of January the 2nd. All right, now we're going to shift back out toward the West Coast. That's where things get really fun. As we go out here on the West Coast, we're going to take this forward here as we go further into time. Watch the snows there really erupt as we go into Wednesday on January the 3rd. You're looking at some pretty healthy snows there across the Sierra Nevada right through here, looking pretty good. And watch as this storm system is going to swing into the Intermountain region here and really dump some pretty healthy snows as we go into Thursday and into Friday. So watch as this thing moves inland. You see the snows through Nevada, stretching through Utah, Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, as we go into the morning of Friday. This is on January the 5th. So you're looking at pretty good snows that are going to erupt here from Colorado, and you see the areas right through here getting some pretty good snows as well. We can kind of highlight some of the totals in here, upwards of 7, 8. This is within about 5 days. So I'm okay doing snow totals when you're within 3 to 5 days. That's not too bad. I can live with that. So you get some decent snow amounts here, getting up toward Denver, getting out toward Kansas, and getting Flagstaff area, getting some snow, getting just north of Las Vegas, seeing some snows. But yeah, it's going to be a pretty wonderland to say the least as we go through the next few days. All right, now, with that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at the big picture here. Zoom back out, and we're going to take this further out, and we're going to go further in time. Watch as the snows are going to start to break out here in the middle of the country. As that storm that's out of the West Coast will move across the country, and they're bringing some heavy snows once again into areas of New England. So this is that same storm system going into 1 week from now or so, going into the 8th. You've seen some very heavy snow amounts in here. Look at this, upwards of 13 inches, 17 there across areas of Pennsylvania, going down through the Appalachians. A pretty good swath of pretty decent snows, over 8 inches there in that purple area, going all the way up into Maine as this storm system crosses the country. Some pretty impressive snow amounts, to say the least, with this area. And I'll zoom in a little bit closer there so you can see a little bit better. And you can see all these snows. Very impressive totals in with this thing. In the corner of the box, by the way, that's where it's kind of pointing. You can kind of get an idea where these heavier snows are. Look at 11, 15. Very impressive, to say the least, as this storm system crosses the country. That's storm number 2. Then we got another one that's going to follow out of it. Let me back this up again. There's another one on its heels that's going to pull out into the plains. You see the snows erupting there across areas of Kansas. Very impressive snow totals in here. Look at this, 20 inches of snow. Of course, this is 9 days out, 8 days out, folks. So this is going to change, but it is showing a target-rich environment there for snow there across areas of Kansas and Missouri going into the 9th. And then this will swing across areas that just got pounded with that other snow event, and we're just going to throw some more snow totals on top of that. So a very impressive swath of snow here showing up from New England, stretching all the way back into the middle of the country with a 1-2 punch with a couple of storm systems that have come through here. You're seeing some pretty impressive snows that kind of racking up across the Intermountain region, which is going to be turning much colder during that period, and not getting a whole lot up here across the high plains. And you guys got pounded with a snowstorm not too long ago there back on Christmas Day. But it looks like you'll get a break from this. But of course, if the path of the storm changes at all, then obviously that means where the snow will fall will also change. But again, what I'm trying to show here is the fact that we've got colder weather and we've got conditions favorable for some snowy conditions. So let's go ahead and track those storms by looking at the European precipitation outlook as we track those storms across the country. Let's go take a look. So as we look at our European model here, looking at your precipitation outlook, fairly quiet here on the 31st. You're going to see this weak system right in here. That's what's going to bring in the snows across areas of the Great Lakes and some areas of Pennsylvania. That's that initial snowfall there. So we're going to take this through, and you can see a little bit of that snow just kind of moving through those areas of Ohio and Pennsylvania as we go through the day on the 1st. So pretty quiet across most of the country for your New Year's Day. Then we're going to track a little southern stream system here across areas of Texas. This is going to bring in some rain, mostly across areas of the deep south. Kind of track right along the Gulf Coast here and bring in some precipitation. Here's our next system out here on the west coast that's coming on in as we go into the 3rd. So stepping forward here, you see the rains along the Gulf Coast with the weak area of low pressure. Getting the snows here breaking out across areas of Nevada with our next storm system progressing inland out on the west coast. That low moves off the east coast and fairly quiet here across the east. A little chilly. You get some cold air around here. Maybe some lake effect snows across areas of New York State and down toward Pennsylvania. And you see the snows here across areas of the Four Corners region with that next system coming out into the plains. Then when it does, that's when things get a little bit dicey and icy, shall we just say, as this system is expected to strengthen pretty rapidly here as we gain the rains there across Texas and into Oklahoma, snows into Kansas. And we'll have to watch also for the possibility going into Saturday for some severe weather along the Gulf Coast. Would not surprise me as you see some severe weather down here, potentially going into next weekend. Here's the snows on the northern edge of this, and this storm system is going to really get cranking as we go throughout the day on Saturday morning and into your Sunday. So you see the snows on the northern edge of this, and you see the snows breaking out on the northern edge here through Ohio, stretching through Pennsylvania and Illinois. On the northern edge of this, and the storms coming down here through the Florida Peninsula. Again, severe weather would not be ruled out with that setup right that is currently looking. And this low just gets cranking and drops to 985, dropping abundant snows across a lot of New England. And that is storm number 1. That's or storm number 2, I should say. That's the one with a real big punch there. And then we got another one we're going to watch back out here again on the west. So here's this one coming out to the Intermountain region here on the 7th of January, and watch as it pulls out into the plains. It's pretty much going to follow the similar path. Look at the snows here breaking out as we go into your Monday morning. Denver looks like you're going to get hit pretty good here with this setup here if this holds out a week out with some heavy snows on the northern portion of this. And watch with this storm system also getting cranking with some very heavy snows across areas of Missouri, Illinois, some very heavy snows into Indiana, going into Ohio and Pennsylvania. Again, we'll need to watch for the potential for severe weather again across the southeast with this setup going into the 9th on Tuesday. And this moves on out. And you see the cold air in place across New England with all that heavy snow with that 3rd punch kind of moving on through. And then also just on the edge of the screen, kind of getting a little bit of a whiff here of the polar vortex kind of rotating down a little bit, but a lot of the country very cold. You notice this is the freezing line, the 540 line here coming in all the way through here. Most of the country looking pretty chilly as that cold air kind of settles in behind the system. But we're definitely looking at some active weather to say the least as we go into the next couple of days, next few days I should say, for the first 10 days of the year. So if you've been wanting snow, you haven't seen it, the conditions are setting up for a pretty active weak punch to start with, and then really a couple of really good gut punches coming your way with 2 successive storms crossing the country from coast to coast. All right, with that said, let's go ahead and take a look at the temperatures now and see how that cold air is going to kind of ooze itself across the nation over the next 10 days. So we're going to start out the model run here on your Monday. Happy New Year and welcome to 2024. And you're looking not too bad across most of the country. Yeah, we got some cold temperatures, but of course it is January, but definitely not as cold as it could potentially be and what we're expecting it to be as we go through the next few days, especially the first week or so going into January. Let's go ahead and step you through this as we go forward into time. As you can kind of see the cold air settling into the southeast, some frigid below freezing temperatures here across the south, seeing a lot of 20s down here as well. And look at the Intermountain region, seeing some temperatures out here in the single digits in the higher elevations, looking kind of frigid, but the real cold stuff still up into Canada. But as we go forward into time, we're going to see more of that purple. Look at there and across the portions of eastern Canada, you're seeing that purple kind of showing up in there. indicative of the very frigid temperatures there. So we got some very cold weather here, getting sneaking down in toward Toronto, and not quite getting into New England yet, but definitely turning colder across most of the country as we go forward, especially out toward the west, as we're going to see cold air kind of filter in and kind of build in out there toward the end of this model run. But look at the very sharp dividing line there of some very frigid temperatures there, just off to below zero temperatures there, just kind of creeping into areas of New England, heading up toward New York and upstate New York and up toward Maine as we head through the Saturday. This is on the 6th of January. And then we're going to see things begin to change. Look at the cold air kind of coming in across the high plains there. Let me back that up just a little bit there. So you can see the sub-freezing, sub-zero temperatures, I should say, across areas of North Dakota and Minnesota. That's something we've been not seeing a lot of this year, to say the least. And we're going to see that kind of spread out. Look at the more purple showing up on the map. A lot of single digits now on this map. Notice the warm sector down here. I remember I was talking about the potential for some active severe weather. We're going to have to watch this very closely going forward in time. We're a little ways out. We'll see how that works as it goes through the next couple of weeks, especially the next 10 days. And where those air masses clash down in here, that's what we'll be watching to see if we get any severe weather. But look at all this cold air. You've got a lot of single digits, teens in here for morning lows across the country. A lot more purple than what we've seen, to say the least, briefly mild across the southeast out ahead of that front and storm system moving through as we head into the 9th and 10th as that clears on in, and the cold air kind of settling in across the bulk of the country there as we head into Wednesday the 10th. Look at all the purple in here. You're looking at temperatures below zero in a lot of locations, and it's going to be quite cold and quite nippy. So I'm growing more and more confident that we're going to see more conditions like this across the country, and we're also going to have to watch with a couple of stronger systems the potential for maybe some severe weather as well across areas of the southeast. So you need to stay tuned to the channel on the latest, especially as we go through the first couple weeks of January. And if you have not subscribed to the channel, please do me the favor. Go ahead, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and go ahead and leave me a comment, give me a thumbs up down below if you like what you see. Always like to get some feedback. It helps with improving the product as we continue to try to grow this channel. So that's it for this edition. We're going to see you on the next one. Until then, have a great and safe day, everybody. Talk to you next time. Bye-bye.